We're a democracy, very robust democracy, noisy democracy, with full of freedom. 3% is what the local government spent, the lowest in the world. Now, what did it mean? Who were actually exercising the power? When I found people waiting in a queue to get a stamp on an application for buying cement with their own money, if you want, they wanted to repair their home, they had to come and take a permit from my office, that they are paying taxes and feeding us. They are the taxpayers. We serve them. That is not our thinking in our country. We think the people are subjects.
Yes.
Rule of law is not there.
IAS, do they think it as a separate caste? And gradually after training, etc. It's a different personality that we see altogether. Why does this happen, sir?
First, these two things. Take the society. Even small employees, what we think are small, are bigger than 85 to 90% of the people of India. More secure, more economically prosperous, bigger, more influential. So the moment you get into government, you're part of that organized sector, which is so tiny in India.
Why do we have this reservation in the first place? What is this caste system? So according to you, what is the history and logic behind having reservation in this country, or what we call as affirmative action?
So let us
Welcome to the Honest Hour, JP sir.
My pleasure, Shashank.
Yes, sir. Sir, recently there was a viral story. Pooja Kedkar, a young girl cracked the UPSC. Now that became a viral news because of fake disability quota and fake OBC quota. And it was also reported in the newspapers that her father amassed great amount of wealth. Now, sir, usually people were discussing about how to obtain fake certificates.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at the larger problem, government jobs, sir, what is the need? I mean, why are Indians so obsessed with government jobs still?
Mm-hmm. It's a great question, Shashank. Yesterday, in a different context, because BBC wanted to interview me on a related issue, I was once again carefully examining the constitutional provisions. Look at the tone and tenor of Article 15, 16, and some other articles relevant.
Yes.
The idea that public office is about serving the citizens is not embedded there. The whole idea is about you getting the right to be there because it is a source of power, patronage, position.
Right.
It's about you. That means it's a feudal sense of power. We have not discarded that. We did not, I'll be very blunt, we did not discard it in the Constitution. We did not discard it in our practice. We did not discard it in our society.
Right.
Even today, the notion of power is personal. Students of public administration talk about Weberian concept. We have not yet embraced the Weberian concept. We officially are followers of Weberian concept of impersonal power.
Yes, sir.
But still, our imagination in a society is power is about a position. It's about a hierarchical thing. It's, of course, therefore prone to abuse. Power is entirely personal. Now, because of that, right from the beginning, it's not post-independence. That was the colonial era.
Right.
There's a great play in the Telugu literature, Kanyasulkam, Bride Price, Gurajada Parao, perhaps one of the greatest pieces of literature in India. There, the protagonist, Grisham, gives a lecture about freedom to a Jatkawala. In those days, hostel on buggies, Jatkawala. So Jatkawala innocently asks him in Telugu, after hearing all that lecture about freedom, Congress, 1893, just 8 years after Congress was formed, early days, how much of foresight and prescience that Gurajada had is remarkable. So Jatkawala asks him, Girisham Babu, if we get freedom and Congress comes to power, because Congress was the national movement in that sense.
1885 it was formed.
The local head constable is harassing us. Will they change the head constable? So colonial notion of power is, once you're a head constable, you don't have to be a district magistrate. You are in power.
Even till this date, sir, when you go to a police station,
exactly,
people see, people are even afraid to go to a police station to report to SHO.
Absolutely. So that is the first reason. It's historical and colonial.
Right.
There's a second reason. Post-independence, what did we do? We embraced a license permit quota Raj, whereby the bureaucrat decides everything relevant to your life. At least most things relevant to your life.
Yes.
As a subdivisional magistrate, the first position in government, I was horrified and very saddened and embarrassed, and I was sick to my stomach when I found people waiting in a queue to get a stamp and an application for buying cement with their own money. If they wanted to repair their home with their own money, they had to come and take a permit from my office.
Right.
No, if you or I take special care, probably there is not much of corruption. Otherwise, without greasing the palm, the permit will not be there. So anybody in government, and doesn't have to be a big fellow.
Yes, sir.
Anybody
Even the
in
kind
government.
of attitude, sir, like when you approach the government servants, like though it is a clerical staff also,
Absolutely.
there's a lot of inertia and they feel that sense of entitlement.
So the license permit quota Raj made it infinitely worse. Therefore, your dependence on government, once you're in government, things get done. You're outside government, you're a nobody. Therefore, there is also the push factor, the second one.
Okay.
There's a third reason. Every democracy, and often even non-democratic but well-functioning societies, have decentralized power to the community level. China is a fantastic example. China is a single-party authoritarian state, but in some respects, I'm one of the few Indians who dares to say this publicly, China is more democratic than India. China's local governments are really strong.
Yes.
51% of all the expenditure by the governments in China is spent by the local government at the local level.
Okay. So
In a
the
manner
real
that people understand.
real needs of the people are addressed.
51%.
Wow.
Now, in India, we're a democracy, very robust democracy, noisy democracy, with full of freedom, anarchy all around.
Noisy democracy is quite a term, sir.
3% is what the local government spend.
Just 3% of the total budget.
The lowest in the world. The lowest in the world. Now, what did it mean? Who were actually exercising the power? The employees of government. If people are not able to exercise power directly, locally, or as close to them as possible, then it's the employees and officials of government who are exercising the power. The centralization again made bureaucracy very attractive and powerful. And the final thing you mentioned, you go to a police station or someplace else, you're terrified. In fact, most government offices, you're terrified. Perhaps the only office where you're not terrified is the post office. Post office is like any shop. You go there, you buy your stamp, or you buy your postcard. And now suppose I don't know who is buying postcards. Honestly, I don't know postcards are still there.
Yes.
But that was the olden days. A money order or something. The transaction is very predictable. As per established norms. Very much like going to a shop and buying something, you do in post office. Minus post office. There is not an office in India where you're not afraid, as even today. Maybe it's a little better with digitization, etc. But generally, the relationship is one of superior subordinate. Citizen is subordinate. Citizen is not the master. I remember one day talking to the US Consul General some 30 years ago in Chennai. At the time, there was no consulate here in Hyderabad. She was extremely helpful to American businesses operating in India.
Yes.
I said, I find it amazing the way you're willing to serve them with great humility, taking it as a central issue. Whereas in our case, the diplomats, in Indian embassy, for instance, if an entrepreneur or citizen goes there, they're treated like petitioners, mendicants.
Yes.
It was really bad in those days. Things have improved to some extent now.
Yes, relatively.
So she said, we used to think that way too earlier, until we realized, and it's drilled into our ears and minds, that they are paying taxes and feeding us. They are the taxpayers. We serve them. That is not our thinking in our country. We think the people are subjects.
Yes.
Rule of law is not there.
The rule of law is told to be one of the basic essence of our constitution.
Yes. And finally, the asymmetry of power, because 90% of our workers in India are in the unorganized sector without a regular monthly secure wage or job.
Right.
Even today, 85 to 90%. See, all of us, well-heeled people, relatively speaking, we may not be rich, come from comfortable families, have the benefit of education, have some proper home and some decent income. When they're unhappy with the income they get, nobody's happy with the income they get, right? Even Bill Gates thinks he gets too little relative to his wants and desires.
Yeah.
But we have regular income and predictability. We're not worried. If something happens for the next few years, we're not really going to stop.
True that.
For us, it's very difficult to comprehend the plight of 85 to 90% people without a regular monthly wage, because one day you don't have a wage, you're starving. One day you fall sick in a city without any family support, it's a catastrophe.
Yes.
So in that context,
And
a
migrant
government
workers.
employee, even the lowliest employee, even a peon in a government office, even a clerk in a government, I'm not talking about officers,
Got it.
even small employees, what we think are small, are bigger
The
than
hierarchy.
85 to 90% of the people of India. More secure, more economically prosperous, bigger, more influential, having greater access to influence and power.
Yes. Social security.
So the asymmetry.
Yes.
So the moment you get into government, you're part of that organized sector, which is so tiny in India. Until recently, perhaps even now it is true, government accounted for 60-70% of organized sector in the country. Today, probably it's one third, or maybe a little around one third of the organized sector. We only have 6 or 7 crore employees out of 54 crore workers in India.
Yes.
Only about 6 or 7 crores are in the organized sector. Of them, government are 2 crores. Earlier, out of 3 or 4 crores, government was 2 crores.
Yes, sir.
So you combine all these, we have an extremely sad situation. That's why, people talk about, X number of jobs, 1 crore applications. I think never in human history have there been cases where 1 or 2 crore, 20 million people applied for some small jobs in railways or some other organization. So it's not really about unemployment. It's about the lure of the government office. And I forgot one thing else. Government pays much, much more than the market for most of the jobs, not the high-end jobs. High-end top management jobs, definitely market pays much more, because once you're talented, the sky is the limit. You can command crores of rupees.
Yes.
But take away those jobs.
Yeah.
A clerk, an assistant engineer, or somebody else, or a driver, or a teacher, or somebody else.
You've also given an empirical evidence in one of your videos. I've seen that. So comparing it to other countries.
Take anywhere in the world. Typically, in our government, we pay them 4 times the wages of the private sector. Typically, maybe a little more, a little less here and there. And of course, endless opportunities for corruption. Unchecked. That's now a birthright today.
That's a way of
You don't have to work. You're not accountable. So there are some who genuinely care.
True.
They really get in because they love the country. They want to do something. But most because of the other circumstances, the enticements. And that is tragic for the country. If you look at the society, the Constitution is about vision and values.
Yes.
Now, there are some societal values which are good. There are some which are not so good. Caste system, discrimination, superstition, ignorance. These are bad, right?
Yes.
Now, politics and administration and governance are about bridging this gap between the constitutional values and social norms. Instead of bridging the gap, supposing you reinforce these attitudes in our political structures and administrative apparatus, it becomes, that's what's happened in this case. In many other cases, we're trying to bridge the gap. Right. Sometimes effectively, sometimes not so effectively. But in this respect, we've actually reinforced the past. That's the problem.
Sir, as you rightly mentioned, there is a sense of elitist attitude. And in one of your lectures, you told that IAS, do they think it as a separate caste or a clan? So why does this happen, sir? Even I see a lot of students, until then they behave, their approach towards life, their attitudes are different. Once they get into the service, the socialization or the kind of friendships, starting with the time the result comes in, and gradually after training, etc., people become, it's a different personality that we see altogether. Why does this happen, sir? Is it because of the training, or is it how the society presumes them to be? First,
these two things. Take the society. In no other country is there so much of adulation, so much of praise heaped, so much of publicity accorded just because you passed one examination. What all you have done is you passed an examination. Right. Maybe you were lucky that day. Maybe the examiner was that day kind, He didn't fight with his wife. Maybe you genuinely are bright and you actually are well prepared. Whatever the reason, in a highly competitive examination where everybody wants to be in civil services, you made it.
Right.
Now, for that, for the society to treat you as if you conquered planet Earth and you accomplished a great deal is absurd. You haven't accomplished anything. You just got an opportunity to serve the people.
Right.
That means you got an opportunity to have the opportunity to make a difference. Nothing more. And yet, they think they have arrived. We think they have arrived. Life is made. Nothing more. Sometime last year, I was there in Pune, and 400 of the civil servants chosen into UPSC by UPSC in 2025, they were all there. A former UPSC chairman and I were there.
Yes.
I told them, your rank, your cadre or your service, none of them define you. You haven't done anything. You just got through an examination. That means you're probably reasonably bright, probably hardworking, probably persevered. That's about it. You haven't accomplished anything. What defines is what you do with the opportunities that you get in future and how much of an impact, positive impact you made on the people's lives. We're not judging it that way. We're saying you've already arrived. Years ago, when Dr. Manmohan Singh was the Prime Minister, I remember the UPSC introduced aptitude test, I think they called it. And they made it also count for merit.
Yes, sir.
In Parliament, there was a big furor. Sir, how can our children get selected if there's such reasoning and all that? As if reasoning is not necessary to be top civil servants. Only in India, we have this
come
debate.
From Telugu medium background, Hindi medium background. There was a huge furor, sir.
And the Parliament, which never debated educational outcomes in India, our schools and our colleges, what's happening, they debated the UPSC examination pattern involving this particular test, aptitude and reasoning. Finally, if I remember right, after a 4.5-hour debate, the decision was they'll continue that, but that will not count for merit.
Merit, yes, sir. It's just a qualifying.
It will only be qualifying exam. What a disgrace. I remember Economist wrote a piece at that time saying that the answer to India's educational failure is reduce the quality of recruitment to the highest civil servants instead of improving the quality of education. So that is the kind of thing we are doing. But having said that, recruitment is not a real challenge. Post-recruitment, what incentives you're giving? And two, how do you structure the state so that they become actually people who deliver rather than who boss over?
But why is it still called the steel frame of Indian nations? Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel also gave this famous statement, and people take great pride in this.
No, there is some merit in that, to be fair, because I'm talking about all the negatives.
Yeah.
But in a country where we have not structured our society effectively post-independence, except now fundamental rights, election, right to protest, and some constitutional authorities, and of course federalism has improved.
Right.
What happened is, on all critical occasions, let's say there's a law and order problem. Definitely the civil services are delivering.
Right.
By and large, we're able to maintain public order, not rule of law. Let's not be confused. Not rendering justice, but maintenance of public order, we're pretty good.
Truth.
Election conduct. In a very fractious country with tremendous competition for power, just as there is so much of a haggling and so much of competition for bureaucratic office, politics too. I mean, everybody wants to be an MLA.
Yes.
Everybody wants to be an MP. They're willing to spend 30, 40, 50, 100 crores, all kinds of things. Tremendous noise. And elections are still conducted honestly and the ballots are counted honestly. So election conduct is remarkable in a country like that. Or take a disaster, a tsunami or an earthquake or something else, or a cyclone, which is very common. Relative to our circumstances, our resources and technology, we do a very great job.
Yes, sir.
Exceptional job. So the basics of keeping the country together up to a point, there are some failings there too. I think we're doing a very credible job as a country. Therefore, to that extent, I think we have to give credit.
Right.
You call it steel frame, you call it something else. On occasion, we are faltering there also, but on the whole, I think we've done a reasonable job. For instance, when Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, the state division took place, in Nagarjuna Sagar, the police forces of both the states they fought a pitched battle
Yes,
with
they were at
lathis.
loggerheads. Yeah.
With lathis. Luckily, they did not use guns.
Yes.
I was so angry. Publicly, I stated, if I had anything to do with the Union Home Ministry, I would place both the district magistrates and superintendents of police, the DGPs and the chief secretaries of both the states under suspension and remove them. It's not that they're individually bad, but they failed. The fundamental duty of protecting the unity of India.
Right.
So on occasion we're faltering, but on the whole, I think a reasonably credible job is being done.
Yes.
And I think that's what gives them that thing. But it's not enough to be a steel frame just to keep the country together. That's the basis. It's like saying, all right, India is not conquered by China yet. That's not a great accomplishment.
True that. So relatively, they have done a substantially good job, with the scope for a lot of improvement.
In some areas, we have not done a bad job as a country.
To an extent, it is still relevant. Civil services is still relevant.
Yes, but not in the current form. Not in the current form. It must be radically altered. I mentioned to you the three areas: domain expertise, monopoly, without any competition from anybody else. No, once you join, just like caste system.
Yes.
Your
creating a
point of entry determines your future. What is caste system? Birth determines, not your merit, not your accomplishment.
Ascriptive status.
Civil services also. Once you enter, that's what determines, nothing else. That's wrong. There must be competition. And there cannot be lifelong tenure irrespective of performance. So if those three things are addressed, these people can still do a great job.
So recently in Jaunpur district of Uttar Pradesh, Suraj Bhaskar, a young student, tried for the NEET examination, sir, for medical entrance, but failed twice, sir. So he went to a construction site near his home. He found a weapon. He found a machine, sir. With that machine, he chopped his own leg. Right, sir? And with the hope that with under disability quota, he will be getting a medical seat. Later, the police investigated his girlfriend. She said that he was so desperate to get a medical seat so that once he gets a medical seat, he can get married. So is it a failure of the reservation system or the quota policy per se? Or in India, this reservation and, whether it is jobs or employment and also education, is it linked to social pressures and marriage dynamics, sir?
I have not heard about this. It's a particularly strange and tragic case. Ultimately, of course, each individual responds differently. Therefore, there cannot be a generic answer to individual conduct. Unless there is a psychological problem, you would not do something as strange as this, as self-harming as this. But if you take that particular way of expression aside, the desperation, there are three things that are happening in our society. School education has collapsed. And therefore, very few have realized the capacity to make a difference to other people's lives by creating wealth and therefore have opportunities in a growing economy.
Right.
Once you feel that you're not adequate, once you don't know what your life is going to be, once you feel it's going to be insecure and without a particular thing, one shot lottery kind of a thing, either this or nothing else, then the desperation becomes greater. The depression becomes greater. So it's a deeper issue. Second, we still haven't gotten rid of the notion, which is very endemic to societies in early stage of economic growth, that there are only a few options available. When we were kids, if you're bright and getting top marks, BPC and medicine.
Yes.
If you're bright, getting a little less than top marks, MPC and then engineering. That
is a phenomenon until recently, sir.
My natural inclination was mathematics and physics. I love, even today, physics and mathematics I love. Okay. The 4 or 5 books I'm reading just now are all about physics, all about mathematics and stuff like that. That's right. I'm passionate about it.
Quite interesting to know.
At the age of 11 or so, my mother one day asked me, said, look, I want to see one of my children as a doctor. That imagination of a white coat, a stethoscope, and I think it's more about that. You can be pretty much what you want to be. Will you become a doctor? I said yes. In my case, for a crazy reason. Partly because mother asked me. Partly because I have this inexhaustible appetite for knowledge. Right. I felt that mathematics and physics, rightly or wrongly, I felt that I would always pursue in some form or other because passionate. Biology, I felt unless I'm compelled to, I may not pursue. So for that very strange reason for an 11-year-old kid, I said, let me take biology.
Okay.
Which is silly. But the point is, my parents' mind, my mother's mind, it never occurred to her that there could be something beyond mathematics and physics and chemistry and biology and engineering and medicine. Unfortunately, it's still continuing. Not that bad, because now there are many more options available, but the bulk of the people still believe there's nothing else left. And that is the second problem. There's a third problem. Go beyond Suraj. Let's say Suraj didn't do such a self-mutilating thing, and with all this effort and pain, ultimately got into, let's say, medicine. What is happening in medicine today? We are admitting about 120,000 kids in medical schools in India. Almost everybody is passing medicine after X number of years. When we were trained 50, 60 years ago, 55 years ago, 50, 55 years ago, when we came out of medical school as graduates, we had immense confidence because we had tremendous clinical exposure. Even though the conditions were primitive, we didn't have technology. Except X-ray and ECG, we did not see another machine. We ourselves, with our hands, did all the tests, biochemical tests, and we could do those things. But we really spent a lot of time with the patients, examining, understanding, and with finest clinicians or our teachers, inspiring, and they transmitted the clinical acumen. So many of us were fairly comfortable by that time. Today, almost no medical graduate feels empowered to actually deal with the patient. Almost everybody passes with high grades. Despite having enormous clinical material in India, no other country offers a abundant clinical material. There is no training. 50% of your examinations are about clinical examinations. And yet, despite the system imposing the burden, the same thing as we had earlier, it's taken casually. Like for instance, MSET, when MSET was there, intermediate examinations, I'm told, kids almost don't ever go to a laboratory.
Yes, that's a sorry state of affairs.
And they all get 30 out of 30. Maybe one day they're given some exposure. It's not relevant at all. It's a waste of time. So that kind of things happen in medicine. And even after you do post-graduation, many do not feel empowered. So the genuinely motivated ones with good theoretical knowledge and ambition, what they do, they go to a first-rate clinician or a hospital of repute and then do another 2-3 years of work and acquire all the necessary skills, and then they're coming out as first-rate people. So at all levels, we created a sense of hopelessness. And from that hopelessness comes this despair and sometimes this self-mutilation and very dangerous things. The number of medical doctors, though it's not really germane to our question, to get into medicine itself is intensely competitive in a country where 15 lakh engineering admissions are there, only 100,000, which is still, in my opinion, much more than we need. But still, competition is very intense. The amount of depression many of the bright kids who went to medicine, they undergo, post-joining medicine and post-finishing graduation, is shocking in this country. Medical profession, once you are in the profession, accept the exhausting work which sometimes enervates you. Otherwise, they should feel on top of the world because you're doing something incredibly important, incredibly useful. There's nothing more than saving lives and relieving pain. And yet they're depressed, many of them. So all it shows is that tremendous amount of re-engineering of our education, our professions, and our training. And of course, most of all, our school education and our social attitudes is required if you want to give our children good health, good mental health, and good opportunity and a sense of optimism.
Right, sir. So like for many of the youngsters these days, reservation is just about, a phenomena that they see when they go for college admissions, right? But what is the history behind this, sir? Like for a layman, who's not well versed with this caste, reservation, etc. Of course, caste is a reality in India which is inescapable. But some people who are unaware of that, why do we have this reservation in the first place? What is this caste system? So according to you, what is the history and logic behind having reservation in this country, or what we call as affirmative action?
See, let us understand two things, Shashank. You and I are here not necessarily because of our ability. We have ability. Thank God for that. Nature gave us, we are lucky. But because our parents were in a position to take care of our educational needs, and they gave us the opportunity. They not only had the economic means, may not be fantastic means, but reasonable means. My parents did not spend any money on me for schooling. I went to a government school, Jilla Parishad and Panchayat Samiti school in the village.
Also in Telugu medium, right?
Telugu medium. And in college, I paid nominal fee. I think 1,000 rupees a year was the fee for a medical college. And I got a scholarship which was much bigger than that. So ultimately, I got net money back rather than paying.
True that.
But even if my parents did not pay money, they gave me the support, the confidence. And they were always there to take care of me. And they filled my head, I'm sure, with some ambition to make something of life.
Right.
There are millions of families in this country where children are as bright as you and I, as capable as you and I, only because of the accident of the birth, the accident of the womb. Because they were born to parents who did not have the privilege of education, who did not have minimal means, did not have the opportunity, and therefore their brains are not really stimulated. They are stunted for no fault of theirs, merely because of the birth. That is what caste system is in our country.
Okay.
Now, in such a society, two things are required. Unless you give a reasonable opportunity for these young people, for these children, to fulfill their potential later on in life, irrespective of birth, you are creating a society where inequalities are perpetuated forever. Because in modern economy, it's the education, it is the professional skill, and it is the kind of work you do that distinguishes you.
Right.
So that is one part. There is an economic logic. There is a political logic. Suddenly, on day one, Indian polity and our own forefathers, our constitution makers, all our great leaders who sacrificed a great deal, they decided that all of us must get universal franchise. This is the first country where man, woman, upper caste, lower caste, rich, poor, Hindu, Muslim, urban, rural, everybody got the vote on day one. No other country dared to even experiment that.
Most of the so-called progressive Western societies also never gave rights to women.
That demands that you actually bring the society together. Now, if a vast proportion are illiterate, have no chance at all in life, no education worth mentioning, and which is likely to continue for a considerable period of time, you will have a civil war-like condition. So you have to give confidence to these the underprivileged people that, look, even if the promise of equality is not real today, it will be real tomorrow. Trust us. And here is our token. It's not merely a word. Here is a thing. So reservation is both a political necessity and economic necessity. At 16 years of age in Telangana, 50% of youngsters at 16, they cannot read time. My watch is showing 11:15 past, a little over 11:15, quarter past 11. About 75% are able to say about 11 o'clock. Only 50% at the age of 16 are able to say it's 11:15 or quarter past 11. 50% of 16-year-olds cannot calculate the number of hours they slept last night. If you slept at 9 o'clock, today. If you slept at 9 o'clock, if you woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning, how many hours have you slept? Only 50% able to answer at the age of 16 that they slept for 8 hours. 90% of the 16-year-olds cannot calculate the discount they got in a shop. If 10% discount is given on a given price, what is the discount amount? 90% cannot answer at this age of 16. How will they benefit from reservation? Not a ghost of a chance. We never focused on that.
Right.
So, reservations are necessary for a time. But the way we are doing it, even if you give it for the next 1,000 years, we will continue disparity, we will continue inequality by birth, and millions of kids will continue to suffer from the disadvantages of birth for no fault of theirs, their potential now be fulfilled. Reservations pre-existed before independence. Madras presidency,
Yes.
they started reservations.
Exactly.
The whole social justice movement, the Dravidian movement and social justice party at that time, they were all about reservations because they felt the need. Similarly, Maharaja of Mysore, Maharaja of Baroda, Sayuji Rao and others, the enlightened kingdoms of the British India, princely states, they also gave reservations because they understood the social inequalities in the country. Nothing wrong with reservations as a concept, but the way it's implemented and the failure of school education and the political need increasingly to pit one caste against the other in the name of reservation for vote bank purposes, these three things are undermining the very purpose of reservations, ensuring that inequality is perpetuated, and we go through this confusion.
But having understood that, sir, like people say, see, I am a person who've never practiced social discrimination. Someone in my family, let's say my great-grandfather or my grandfather, my father also never did that. So they have practiced some kind of injustice. For the injustices that they have meted out to some sections of the society, why should we bear the brunt? Why are we being denied our opportunities?
Don't think of it as a reparation for the past sins. Think of it as an investment for a future harmony in society.
Oh, that's quite a statement, sir.
Just relook at it. Imagine a society in which I don't have an opportunity by birth. And you're talking about equality, you're talking about democracy, you're talking about freedom. And you enjoy all the fruits and I get nothing out of it. There will not be peace. Why will I be peaceful? If I have no future, why will I be peaceful?
There's a completely new dimension that you brought across.
Exactly. So it's not about the past reparations. It's about the future harmony of society. Well, the problem is we are doing it badly.
Right.
The richer sections, the IAS officer's son gets reservation. What more can you show? We discussed earlier how much people put IAS on a pedestal. If after that you still think you require reservation, there are basically two issues. One, what is the logic of reservation? That if you give an opportunity, apart from fulfilling an economic need to give an opportunity for them, then you come out of discrimination. That economic opportunity, educational opportunity ends discrimination.
True that.
If that is the case, you take care of your children. If you argue it will never end discrimination, then why reservation? You can't have it both ways. So this is simply a self-serving argument of a few people who are benefiting from that. They don't want really the Dalits and the backward classes, the poor, to get the opportunity. Similarly, the so-called other communities, OCs, the better off sections don't care about giving opportunity to the poorer sections on their own communities. So in a rat race, dog-eat-dog world, we're all looking out for our advancement using caste as a prop.
But the constitution envisages reservation not on the basis of caste, sir. It is based on social and economic discrimination.
No, scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, it specifies.
True that.
In case of backward classes, it is social and educational backwardness.
Yes.
It did not even speak of economy. Social and educational backwardness.
Yes.
Social includes economic, I'm pretty sure.
True, sir. Recently, economic aspect also, EWS reservation has been given. So just now you mentioned that some of the sections in particular communities, marginalized communities, some people have become IAS officers, some people have become prominent politicians, ministers, etc. Multimillionaires, etc. But now people compare with them and showcase that, see, these people have benefited, their kids are benefiting out of it. But that is a very minuscule minority. Like even if we look at the government data, it is only 0.1% of people in Group A services. And in the higher judiciary, it is lesser than that. And some some prominent positions in the society are still inaccessible. Now, why do people still say that, reservation is benefiting only certain sections? Now, there could be some, some people, I've also seen some arguments that there are some invisible reservations when it comes to some business communities or when it comes to certain communities. Certain positions are being amassed only by those communities because of the networking per se.
Okay, let's separate these two issues. Second one will come to it later. First one, let's address that. Reimagine again reservations. Supposing three things are done. Supposing the well-off people from well-off families are better schools. No. You go to a school where you pay a private school fee of 1 lakh rupees to 6 lakh rupees, 10 lakh rupees, I'm told sometimes.
Yes, sir.
And then you want reservation, it's absurdity in the extreme,
True,
right? So on economic grounds, the kind of school you went to and the parentage, their income, on some criteria which are rational and measurable. Supposing you say, you are now the creamy layer, you're out of it. The benefit goes to the rest of your own community. That's the first one. First, the benefits start flowing to the genuine people. And the heartburn about reservations will significantly disappear, because a lot of heartburn from the other sections is, look, his father is richer and better off than me, gave him better education. Now they say he's reserved and I have to compete with the rest of the people. It's unfair. Remove that first.
So merit is not being acknowledged is also what they complain about.
Second, instead of reservations in a crude sense, ensure that the public interest is protected. Ultimately, if you become a doctor, it's not about you. It's about me availing your services. If you become an employee in government, it's not about you. It's about me, a citizen, availing your services.
Right.
We have forgotten that dimension because the reason we discussed earlier, everything is about you. You are the principal. The consumers or the citizens are not the principals, which is a ridiculous way of organizing a society. Therefore, ensure that the standards required to meet the professional requirements there or the skill requirements there are not diluted.
But they say they got through quota, they got lesser marks, still made it.
No,
so there are also some
you have some minimum floor.
Yes, sir. Just to
in other words,
interrupt, sir.
You give increasingly a weightage rather than a quota. Move slowly in that direction. For instance, there are absurd cases where if you get 0, you still can enter a medical course or a post-graduation medicine. Supreme Court right now is hearing a case where in such admissions, the standards are lower, too much is society is suffering.
Yes.
Article 335, in all reservations, people forget that. It says reservations are permissible subject to requirements of competency in government or efficiency in government.
Yes.
That is as an afterthought put there. Whereas the provisions relating to reservation and all those things, they're all very strong, but you've forgotten that somewhere later on they added subject to requirements of efficiency. But that is a central thing. Government is to serve me. Government is not for your authority.
Right.
The whole notion of government is for your authority is what really dominated our thinking in the country. That's why the quest for government jobs and quest for reservations in government jobs, because it's about you, not about me, the citizen. Therefore, ensure that the efficiency is not diluted, whether government jobs or professions, or doctor, engineer, whatever thing. Third, but most important of all, ensure there's quality school education for every single child. It's absolutely achievable. Every single child is going to school in this country. The poorest families, the Dalit families, the backward class families, many of them are spending disproportionate sums to give their children a head start, hoping that the children get better education. They're sending them to private schools very often, and government school is available because government schools have failed spectacularly. But even private schools at that level are failing spectacularly because the government's failure to create a framework. But they're working very hard, trying to do the best. But our education system has betrayed them, is betraying our children and all these communities in particular. You address that. Once you do that, then imagine a world. Once a child gets 10 years of good quality schooling or 12 years of good quality schooling, irrespective of birth, the child will say, I don't care about reservations. Many OBC communities today,
they're not taking
they don't need reservation. They're doing better than the so-called OCs because intelligence is not any caste prerogative.
True that.
Hard work or passion or ambition are not anybody's prerogative. They're there in society. We're not nurturing them. So reimagine. The second question you raised, basically about private sector. I would be wrong to say that family networks do not play a role. They play a role because we're a strong family-bound society. There are also caste associations. If not caste, there'll be a similar social background. You may not be the same caste, but similar social background. These prejudices are inevitable, but there are two ways of addressing that. One is, no matter what caste, even if you got the advantage of network, if you create a framework in which the consumer understands her self-interest For instance, I have to go to a doctor. My life, my child's life is at stake. Unless I'm an insane human being or a psychopath, I will not say I'll go to my caste fellow even if he's a useless surgeon.
Right.
I'll go to the best surgeon because my self-interest is not dominating over my caste interest.
Right.
I have not become a greater human being. I become a more practical human being. I become a wiser human being. I'm not more moral. I'm much smarter in protecting my self-interest. Supposing that framework is clear, I know what I'm getting, then that will be diluted. There's a second way. What do American organizations do? There are some well-meaning civil society organizations that look at the corporates. They say, look, if similar companies, let's say automobile companies, if automobile company X has employed 20% blacks, African Americans,
right.
Similar company automobile Y employs almost none. Only white people are employed. That means when there's a labor force available with those skills, you are still denying them the opportunity. What they do is they make it public. They say, now use your market power. Don't buy company B because it's not taking your people.
Okay.
Markets work. Instantly they change their attitude, not because they love you, because they are forced to survive.
Okay.
So use intelligent mechanisms.
More practical solutions.
More practical solutions. But you can never erase 100% all favoritism and prejudice because you want to favor your own friend's son, even if it's from different caste, somebody from your own family. Some people are over that, but most people are not above that.
True.
So don't expect heaven.
100%.
But in a substantial measure, you can address these challenges.
So like now that you mentioned about the policies and etc., but even at a societal level, when we see, like it was presumed that with education and with societal progress and modernity, this kind of parochial identities, whether it is based on religion or whether it is based on caste, that will decline. But here we are seeing, even in this generation, like just now you mentioned about medical seat. Now, recently I was seeing one of the social media posts after the medical entrance results. So one post was saying that so-and-so person got very less marks but made it to the, got the MBBS seat. Now, I would never go to such a doctor who doesn't have that skill set. He just passed because of quota. And another thing, I was just listening to one of the conversation one of my student has shared. So this person faced some kind of caste-based discrimination in his college. Right there, he complained to the college authorities or his parents. Issue was sorted out. Now the same person went to USA for masters. So there they had the same people came to they came to the same middle ground. And there they say like, see now that we are in USA, here the Indian laws won't work. Right. There are caste associations in foreign countries like USA, Australia, UK, etc. Now they were like, now you go and complain whom you want to complain to. So what is this phenomenon, sir? Like, where are we going? Like, when does the situation...
Let us deconstruct. There are two slightly separate issues. Each one separately will take up. Let's take the domestic caste issue. My understanding is the economic forces, science and technology, globalization, 24-hour communication, forces of modernity, urbanization, most of all urbanization, they're all taking us away from the caste. But politics is taking us back to caste. I'm absolutely certain, despite all the pessimism surrounding education, technology, economic competition, globalization, communication, and urbanization, are diluting caste. But
are you sure about that?
Yes, absolutely.
But when it comes to marriage alliances,
that's different. I'll come to that. There are two contrary forces working. The reason why politics is still harping on caste is our political process is extremely skewed. It has failed to serve the basic political functions. What are the basic political functions? A, you must attract the finest talent in the country into public service. B, you must give them space and opportunity to rise in power through ethical and rational means based on your competence and leadership. C, you must provide genuine alternatives in terms of policy to the electorate and get their mandate.
True that.
D, once you get the mandate, you must have the capacity to deliver on the mandate. In large part, 1 and 2 we have failed spectacularly. Attracting the best talent and allowing their rise through ethical and rational means, electoral system, politics, political parties. We can go into it later if you wish. 3, I do not say it's 0, but alternatives offered in terms of policies are much more meager than it should be. There is some sharp division on occasion. Economic growth versus welfare or something else, but not good enough. But they're doing not entirely a bad job. The capacity to deliver, again, sometimes it's there, at least up to a point, but not always there. So once it's there, what's happening? Political parties, unless they hark back on the traditional Indian divisions, which are deep-rooted, centuries old, they're not able to mobilize people. So caste became the primary means of mobilization of people as voters. Overseas, what is happening? These are some of the better off kids. Generally, 90% of the kids who go there already are reasonably well qualified or from comfortable backgrounds who have ambition. Some ability must be there.
True that.
Rarely is an absolute dunce given a chance abroad. Why are they behaving in such a casteist manner? They're behaving. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. Even in urban centers in India.
3 things: caste, region, religion. All these 3 things are much more prominent among Indians in the US than in India. Andhra, Telangana. They are the ones who create the problem.
Yes.
Hindu, Muslim, they are the ones who create a problem.
Each party has a political
Kamma, Reddy, Kapu, or political parties. This party versus that party.
Yes.
Jagan party versus Chandrababu's party. Much more pronounced there. I have a theory. In India, we all may harbor some prejudices and some stupidity, but we have to coexist. I honestly don't know what your social background is.
Right.
I don't know about his social background. Supposing I have some stupid prejudices, I'm an idiot, let's say. I give expression to my prejudices in my speech or my actions. You will not beat me up. I have to coexist. The compulsions of coexistence demand, even if I am stupid enough, even if I am idiotic enough to have those prejudices, I keep them under check.
Right.
Once I go outside this milieu, I go to a country where I am a small minority, my bad speech or bad actions have very little consequences unless I actually violate the law. If I use caste, region, religion, and party as a big issue to mobilize people and to provoke hatred, it's not touching me. There are no consequences. So paradoxically, in India, particularly urban India, you're more likely to be, not because you become more moral, but because your own compulsions of coexistence.
Right.
There, those compulsions disappear. Therefore, that inhibition, it's like alcohol. Once you drink alcohol, what happens? Inhibitions are gone. You behave erratically.
Right.
It's like that. You no longer have the compulsion of coexistence. And therefore, not all of them, but some of them are doing immense harm to India and India's brand and our society.
More importantly,
but some of them, they're imbibing the best of the Western culture.
Yeah.
And they're also doing a lot of good.
Absolutely. But coming to this phenomena, sir, just a while ago, in urban centers also, we see when it comes to marriage alliances, when it comes to house renting also, sir.
Marriage is a different
thing. It's a gatekeeping society.
Social practices are a different thing. They'll take time. It's getting better.
Okay.
50 years ago, 100 years ago, it's unthinkable that you'd get rent or you'll get a house or anything else unless you're from the same caste. Today, caste is still playing some role, but I don't think you're asking what caste are you if you're willing to be my tenant, because I'm looking at, are you trustworthy? Are you paying me the best rent possible? But if all else equal, some idiots may still go for a caste, but it's diluting. I have no doubt about it.
So
other
relative
social
decline
practices like marriage ultimately depends on the young generation. My faith is in the young generation. My appeal to young generation
But parents have conditioned them in such a way.
I agree. But my
it's only 5%, according to the government data, 5% of intercaste marriages.
But my appeal to the young people is, don't marry intercaste because of idealism. It's a very silly way of doing it. Start marrying for love, companion, with whom you'd be happy, who is compatible. You share so many things. You want to share your life. Start doing a practical self-interest. If it happens to be in your own community, so be it.
Right.
But don't make that the central issue. Make your own happiness central issue. It will take 2-3 generations. I'm sure it will be diluted.
Right.
But we must be patient, because what has taken roots for centuries and millennia will not be wiped out overnight. But outside of that personal family thing, that is the most important determinant of caste survival in the long term. Endogamous marriages. If that endogamy disappears, if you start marrying out of love, I'm sure things will change.
Right.
It will happen, but slowly, much more slowly.
Coming to relationships, sir, like as you've mentioned, why do you think these days there are a lot of discrepancies in coexistence, whether it is marriage or any kind of relationship that we see?
See, the old world is one of certainties. Your caste, your khandan, your family, and your wife and husband, certainties. People adjusted. There was tremendous social pressure.
Right.
Breaking up a marriage, for instance, was an extraordinarily rare event. And it's frowned upon by society. There's an odium attached to that. And you paid a tremendous social price. You were humiliated. Probably women were more humiliated than men, but men too were humiliated. And therefore, you hung on together. 2, we led lives of, I would not say quiet desperation, but lives of a lot of privation, shortage, a lot of pain and difficulties. Therefore, we were willing to accommodate a bit of pain.
Right.
We don't immediately say, katif. Accepting adversity and embracing that became part of life.
Right.
Today, both things are now in the decline. The social control, social pressures, they still exist. That's why still marriages in large numbers are still within the caste, but it's slowly declining. And therefore, the pressure on the couple to live together, the way it was operating earlier, it's no longer there. It's much less so. To some extent, it's also that we have lost the capacity to face adversity, a bit of a discomfort, a bit of a disagreement. We're going to the extremes.
Right.
So one of them is probably the right thing, because forcing people to live together when they're wholly unhappy and incompatible is a bad one. The second one is a bad thing, that at the drop of a hat, you think of extreme solutions rather than finding accommodation, because no two human beings, even if you are twin brothers or twin sisters, even if you are siblings, two human beings will agree on everything. And coexistence is a very difficult thing.
Yes.
Adjusting to life with each other, even, using a bathroom or sharing the television, which one do you watch? Or what do you do with the spare time? I have my own view or desire. There are things that make me happy. My wife has some other things. We must give space to each other. We must not force each other to sort of conform to a certain norm. I remember in Tirumala, I was in the chief minister's cottage once, a very big guest house. I don't go to temples generally. I went along with the governor for a convocation or something else.
Yes.
And then governor occupied one, I occupied another one. It's a very big one, but there were 2 bathrooms. Why one chief minister found that sharing the bathroom became a problem because time was a thing, therefore they built 2 bathrooms. We don't have that luxury, right? So that kind of accommodation is not possible. So we have fights, inevitably.
Right.
No matter how old you are, trust me, my wife and I fight every day. But we also learn to accommodate.
Yes.
But that accommodation is increasingly missing. Become much more, what shall I say, volatile.
Yes.
Much more extreme, much less capable of facing a bit of adversity. That I think is a larger problem in society. That if you don't understand that you don't always get your way,
right,
and you must deal with people and respect each other. If that we don't learn, not only in marriage, but I think in general relationships, it's going to be very messy.
Yes. So just a while ago, when we were discussing about reservations and etc., you mentioned that certain sections and certain communities have benefited out of reservation. And in the same community, some people are still marginalized.
Most people.
That we call as the most backward amongst the backward. Now, this phenomena has caught up political attention of late, where recently the Supreme Court Judge, Justice B.R. Gavai, has also made a statement about creamy layer within SC/ST. This is one aspect. And in OBC, creamy layer already exists. Now, according to your understanding and experience, sir, is this creamy layer phenomena a rational thing to do? Number one. Secondly, sir, just to interrupt. Secondly, when you go for this creamy layer and creating subdivisions within different communities, is it not in effect perpetuating caste system?
Justice Gavai is totally right in my opinion. And he must be complimented for raising this issue very honestly. When he himself belongs to creamy layer among one of the disadvantaged communities.
Right.
And it takes courage and honesty.
Conviction
integrity.
also, yes.
Integrity. There are people I have known, former RBI deputy governors, former members of planning commission and others, and some other eminent people in public life who benefited from reservations but who voluntarily gave up reservations saying that we will take care of our children.
True that.
Let the poorer members of a community benefit. And that argument is absolutely valid. Now about subclassification, classic example is Mala versus Madhya.
Yeah.
In Andhra Pradesh, Madhya subclassification. We already have it in backward classes. Why? Even within the caste system, castes are not equal, subcastes are not
Absolutely.
equal. For instance, certain backward class communities are backward class communities only in name. Their occupation, their social profile, their land ownership pattern are identical to the so-called OCs.
Right. So that relative inequality
So
already
they made them
exists.
BCD.
Yes.
Because if you make them compete with the genuinely backward people, then the poorer people will never get a chance. No, just to give you an idea of what's happening in our country. In Rajasthan, some years ago, when Vasundhara Raje became chief minister, she offered unwisely backward class status to Jats. Jats are like Velamas, Reddys, Kammas, Kapus of Andhra Pradesh, Telangana. Or Rajus.
So affluent section.
If Jats get reservation, then who will not get it? What happened immediately, a community called Gurjars, they went on a war path because Gurjars were backward classes. If you combine Gurjars with Jats, then Gurjars will lose out. Jats are definitely at a higher level, education, opportunity, etc. So the government said, all right, Gurjars, we will treat you as STs. Then Meenas, who are already STs, they are probably the community which benefited most from reservation.
Yes. Most of the IAS officers are from Meena community.
Exactly. They went on war path because if they join the tribal group, then they will lose. And the three together, they paralyzed Rajasthan, and because Rajasthan borders Delhi, the NCR region, etc., it became a big national problem.
Yes.
So this is what is happening. Therefore, subclassification is required. Everybody is not equal.
Right.
If you believe that backwardness on account of whatever reason, the caste discrimination, parental poverty, lack of education, entitles you to certain advantages, if there are some more people who are even more backward, should they not get some special thing? All they are saying is, within that, carve out a space so that you don't compete with us because we are both utterly unequal. It's perfectly legitimate. Within reasonable limits. No, you can't make it 150 classes because it's impossible to manage that.
Right.
But as a general principle, it is reasonable. But the problem arises in the roster system in public employment. And that whole thing is wrong. You must do it in bulk.
Yeah.
You know, for instance, one youngster in Telangana, 15 or 20 years ago, came to me. He was the topper in the postgraduate entrance. At the time, NEET did not come yet.
Yes.
You cannot do anything more than being a topper in the postgraduate entrance, medicine. He did not get a seat of his choice. Why? First of all, I asked him, why did you not get the seat of your choice? Normally, nowadays, if you're a topper, you would go to general medicine, general surgery, obstetrics, gynecology, pediatrics. There was a treasured or very preferred post-graduation. So, what did you ask for? He said, sir, I asked for radiology. I was stunned because in our time, radiology was not a preferred thing, but nowadays I believe there's a lot of money in that, a lot of diagnostics. He said, sir, market has changed. So probably what happened is in radiology, In those days, there was only one seat or so.
Right.
Now that one or maybe two seats, that one or two are given on rotation in a roster system to this and this. A stupid way of...
True that.
When we joined government in our batch, one of the biggest things was anti-reservation agitation in Gujarat. Why did that happen? A physically handicapped medical graduate topped the postgraduate entrance in Gujarat.
Achha.
Physically handicapped. But not from the SC, ST, BC communities probably. He did not get a postgraduate seat of his choice. He probably asked for something similar because of physical handicap. He probably didn't want a general clinical medicine where he would have to stand on his legs or something probably. I'm presuming, I don't know the facts. He did not get a seat of his choice. The whole state rose in flames because not only a topper did not get what he wanted, but is a physically handicapped one. It became an anti-reservation agitation. So the stupidity of administration and implementing also is sometimes a problem, a combination of all this.
Right, sir. So like now that we see the rising demands for reservation, just now you mentioned about Gujars, etc. Marathas are demanding reservation and UP some sections have demanded reservation.
Now it became a national pastime.
Yeah.
We must laugh it off and it can't be. And happily, this is the job of the Supreme Court. When things go out of control, politicians cannot really say, sorry, I will not give you. Because after all, politicians' job is to say, I will give you.
Political compulsions.
I can't blame them also. Anywhere in the world, it's not their job. That's where the constitutional provisions, that's where the interpretation of the Constitution, because remember, the norm is equality before law.
Right.
The norm is equality before law. That is foundational. This is the exception.
Equal protection of law is an exception?
No, it's not equal protection. Equal protection is equal to everybody. Reservation is an exception. Article 15, 16, etc. reservation is not at the cost of the basic norm of Article 14, 15, 16. It is an exception in the unusual set of circumstances for a time. The set of circumstances, therefore exception. For a time, therefore exception.
Right.
If exception swallows the norm, then there's no norm left. That's why Supreme Court established a ratio, 50%. Within that, we'll figure out 100 things. The Constitution was amended most number of times on reservation issue.
Absolutely.
Out of the 106 or so amendments,
starting with the first
more than one third,
amendment,
about 40% were in relation to reservation. And now a court gave an order, then an amendment
they go the
came.
other way around and do the
For instance, in 2005, Justice Lahoti, Chief Justice's bench, he gave an order that in private colleges, you cannot have reservation.
Yep.
Constitution was amended promptly in the same year, 2005, saying that private colleges also will have reservation. So, many amendments. I'm not saying good or bad. Politically, there's a consensus. The broad point I'm making is, somewhere there's a ratio. If you breach that, society can no longer coexist. It's a very dangerous thing. So, you require, one, the equality before law is fundamental, with exceptions carved out. Right. Exceptions cannot swallow the equality. Article T35 is fundamental. Efficiency, standards of efficiency.
Yes.
And Article 19(1)G, which talks about professional standards. Why do you have medical council? Anybody can be a doctor, no?
Right.
It's the duty of the state to make sure that a doctor is actually a doctor, it is not a killer.
Right.
Therefore, Article 19(1)G. So, anything you do, the job of the constitutional authorities and the parliament and the courts ultimately is, are we making sure that there's a balance between exception and the fundamental, the foundation? Are we making sure that the efficiency of government is not compromised? Are we making sure that the people for whose service we are after education and joining a profession are the people served well? We are somehow, in all this debate, we are only talking about my right to be a doctor, my right to be in government. I'm not talking about a people's right to get better service, people's right to get better government. We must make sure that we examine all these things together.
Makes absolute sense, sir, whatever you told. But in recent times, we are seeing that Rahul Gandhi makes a statement. Jitni abadi utna hak. Like whatever is your population, based on that, you should get your rights. And in Bihar also, and several other states, socio-economic caste survey. This is the phenomenon. Now, people call it as caste census, but it's not a census per se, it's a survey. Now, every state government is challenged with this demand coming from the so-called sections of, some activist sections in the society. Now they are going for this so-called caste surveys and caste census. And there you see, they have data suggesting that 84% of the people belonging to SC, ST, OBC, EWS, etc. Like that, every state is now coming up with the data. Now, once the data is out, people, even like for that matter in the parliament, Prime Minister has also acknowledged it. Now, doesn't it perpetuate casteism, number one? Secondly, now you've just mentioned about the 50% limit or certain kind of ceiling. The Supreme Court in the Indira Swane judgment has given this 50% limit. Now, with this demands, the ceiling, would it still be relevant, sir? Now, how do we tackle this situation? Like, given your experience and from the administrative and political viewpoint, what should be the way ahead?
First of all, itna abadi utne hak. There is no right to be a doctor for anybody. There is a right of, first of all, rights exist against the state. First, we are confusing about the word rights. I have no rights over you. I have zero rights over you.
True.
You have no rights over me. The right exists against the state.
Yeah, that is a fundamental premises of rights.
So we are
claims on the state.
So we're talking rubbish. First of all, we don't even know what we're talking about. Pardon me. I don't mean disrespect to anybody.
Right.
But we don't even know what we're talking. We're thinking that we're being very clever politically. We're being stupid constitutionally.
Right.
Second, those rights are about your fundamental rights not being abridged by anybody on account of caste, region, religion, sex. I don't have a right to be an MLA. So can you say, all right, everybody has a right to be an MLA. Why can't I be an MLA? Why can't I be an MP? Why can't I be an IAS officer? Is that what you're talking about? Rubbish are you talking? So this notion of rights in that manner is a ridiculous one, dysfunctional one.
Right.
And two, your ability, your aptitude, your functionality, and the market share. These are all things that determine what you do. You are running a civil service coaching center. Supposing I say, Shashank, you're making good life, and why am I not making good life? I'm entitled to that. What is your right to be good? You made a choice. Right. You worked hard for it. The market accepted it. It's a willing contract between you, provider, and them, recipient of services. You're obeying all the laws. You're not harming society in any way. That's your life. I have chosen a different life. I have chosen that I will not take pension. I will not take salary. I will not take a rupee from my organization. I will give my time and energy for a cause I believe is very necessary for this country. And I'm happy with that. Now, I cannot say now, Shashank, you're doing better than me. You have a better car than me. I have a right to have that car. What rubbish are you talking?
Makes absolute sense. Yeah.
So our notion of rights, our notion of what you do, it's not about even your competence. When you have the competence and skills, you choose it.
Right.
When you choose, you compete. The market decides whom they will favor. They will not favor you because of the long name. They will not favor you because of 3 letters. Market favors because the buyer of what you are offering benefits or loses. That is why I'm a great advocate of the basic structure doctrine. Right. I am very much opposed to the courts interfering excessively. I am one of the few Indians in public space who is very sharply critical of the court's expansive jurisdiction in executive matters. But this is not expansive jurisdiction.
Right.
When the political process and the social forces are undermining the foundations of the Constitution, then the Supreme Court has a duty and a responsibility to decide what are the foundations and ensure that the foundations stand. Otherwise, nothing is left in the country. And therefore, once they say this part of the basic structure of the Constitution, as long as they don't say it in a whimsical manner, that must be held. The moment that is not held, all hell will break loose in this country. It may be about reservations, 50%. It may be executives, legislature, judiciary, separation, particularly judiciary and executive separation. It may be about 100 other things.
Right. The
moment that is breached, then there's anarchy in the country. There could be violence, there could be civil war. And remember, despite all these things, much of what we discussed is the unpleasant things of India. Let me remind ourselves and the viewers of the happy things of India. We are the world's most diverse country.
Right.
We are one of the poorest countries on earth. There's no country which is anywhere near so many castes and regions and religions and languages and blah, 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 blah. And tortuous history and pain. And yet, we are a picture of stability. We are the only democratic and free country which is remarkably free, stable, in the midst of United Kingdom, near collapse. Even Germany, a picture of stability going through all kinds of difficulties. France, the president is not able to persuade people that in the interest of the next generation, let us do some reform of the pension system. He's not able to persuade people. In America, I don't think I need to mention. The name Trump is enough.
Yes.
The kind of volatility we're witnessing.
Absolutely.
China is different. Monolithic, single party, and a very strong party, genuinely public spirited with credibility and legitimacy, because the way they conducted themselves in the past 30, 40 years, not before, but post Deng Xiaoping. Otherwise, in a democratic country with genuine thirst for power and diversity and freedom, we are unique. Don't break that. Don't test it to the limits. Protect India's unity and harmony. Otherwise, all of us will destroy ourselves. Don't cut the nose to spite the face.
That is some amazing food for thought, sir. Sir, on a conclusionary note, you are a person who lived by your ideals and you're still living by your ideals.
I don't say as far as practicable.
Yes, sir. Now, I've seen some of your interviews where you mentioned that categorically you've not used, your surname to prevent people having some caste prejudice.
My passport also doesn't carry that.
Yes, sir.
Because that was the practice in coastal Andhra and the parts of the country in 1940s and 50s. Because caste name may indicate, surname may indicate a caste.
Yes.
And then the suffix, Reddy, Chaudhary, Naidu or something else, or Sharma, Shastri. Even if somebody has that name, I never call them by that name. I always call them by the rest of the name.
True.
At least try and remove caste as much as possible in your normal thinking and discourse.
True, sir.
These are small things we can do.
So idealism in the form of your personal life also, you follow a lot of limited means and limited kind of lifestyle.
Otherwise, I would not have survived. There was a time when I did not have enough money to pay for my children's school fee.
Then idealism in your work as a bureaucrat also. Like people appreciate the kind of work you've done and also your way of life as an officer also. That was also idealistic. And then into politics. Too much of idealism, right? Now, my question over here is, sir, having faced such turbulent situations because of this idealism, aren't you tired of this?
No.
I mean, what keeps you driving?
No.
So many setbacks. People sometimes heckle. People sometimes support us.
Sometimes people abuse me with the vilest possible.
Yes. Yeah, even in the assembly, I think sometime back an MLA has attacked you.
I was physically attacked.
Yes. So what does this, the same people who supported you at a point of time, who were rallying behind you, today they might not be around you. So what keeps you driving? You're just adapting to new forms. Like now you are you're almost like I would consider a creator, So on social media also you're active, right? You're trying to spread awareness, talk about the issues which people are, reluctant to talk about, discuss about, and setting the path for a new discourse in the society. So what drives you, sir?
Two things, Shashank. I'm a great optimist. Why is that optimism? All these are genuine problems. Here in every country has problems. Go to America, they have their problems. Go to Britain, they have their problems. Germany, Japan, Southeast Asia, China. Let's not pretend that we are uniquely cursed with problems. Problems are part of humanity. Look at our blessings. Is there one family in this country, I challenge everybody, every viewer, is there one family in this country which can claim that their life was better 30 or 40 years ago than today? I challenge you. We are looking at glass half empty. You're forgetting the glass half full, or maybe 2/3 full. Look at the social harmony in our society. It's not the police forces that are maintaining order in India. It is our social controls.
Right.
When I come here, I was not worried that somebody may attack me and kill me or knife me or shoot me down. None of us is worried. Most countries, even the so-called advanced countries, the moment somebody approaches you, or you're in a guard, immediately become rigid. You don't know what's going to happen. You never open the car window. You never open the car door. You're terrified.
Right.
We still live in a good society with serious flaws, and our lives are getting better. So what's there to despair? Two, in my mind's eye, I'm not what you think I am. I'm not what most people think I am. An ex-civil servant, blah, 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 well-to-do positions, or this, or an ex-MLA, or party leader, or nothing. In my mind's eye, I'm still that 12-year-old or 11-year-old kid in school. I view the world in the same manner that I viewed at the time. There are two things that drive me. I'm angry because I was fortunate, along with hundreds of thousands of my fellow citizens, young kids at the time, went to similar schools with similar background, no means really, and yet our potential was fulfilled. The society gave us so much. The kids in those schools today have no future. 50, 60 years later, when we are spending, Telangana, we are spending 108,000 rupees per child per year from the government. You can't spend more. We have 8 children for every teacher in secondary schools of Telangana. You can't have better teacher-student ratio. And I can go on and on. Despite all that, 80% of the children that go to those schools have no future. The school where I went have no future. That makes me mad, boiling with rage. That can be easily corrected. Easily corrected. And look at the amount of pain and suffering on account of sickness and premature death and unnecessary suffering in this country that's going on. We have what is called 39% or 38% of our lives on average are lost in this country because of disability. Disability does not mean that you actually lost a limb or something. For some time or other, because of sickness or some other reason, you're not able to do productive work. Now, in any sensible society, that will be 15% because old age and certain inevitable problems, premature death.
Right.
That means at least about 15-20% of our disability is completely removable. Lakhs of our deaths are preventable. Millions of people are becoming poor because of healthcare problems. They need not be poor. We can easily set it right. Both these things drive me. And they're achievable. And if you can't do it, what the hell is life about? I live to be 70 years, and if I'm lucky, I'll live for X number of years. I want to live for 90 or 95. Maybe it's only tomorrow, I don't know. But if that's not accomplished, what is life about? What are you living for? So, I think I have a good life. I think that life will be utterly futile if we don't pursue these goals and accomplish some of them and show a path to the society. If I have something to communicate, something to teach, and something to show, give some confidence and direction, do that to the extent you can. And I was lucky to be able to achieve some things. I think 4 constitutional amendments, substantially because of me, 84th Amendment, 91st Amendment, 97th Amendment, 99th, the last 2, almost entirely because of our initiative.
Yes.
84th, 91st, substantially our role. 7 or 8 major laws in the country. 5 or 6 major policy initiatives in the country that reshaped the country's economy in some respects. But I'm not content because they are still minuscule compared to what needs to be done. And that's worth doing. And that is absolutely achievable, well within our reach. There cannot be greater fulfillment.
So as a nation, we are quite fortunate to have a person like you.
Oh, there are plenty like
and this generation.
There are plenty like that.
No,
we are blessed with exceptional people in government and outside. We are saying this.
Yes, sir. So what does JP sir like to be remembered as?
I don't think I remember my great-grandfather. I only remember one of my great-grandparents, my mother's grandfather, mother's father. Others I have not seen them. I've not seen that. Nobody remembers you after a point. The only thing, Nelson Mandela said, you're not remembered for your rank or position or status or power or money. You only deserve to be remembered for the impact you made on the people's lives. So to a little extent, I think some impact, if I have been able to make, I would like to be remembered for that. To a larger extent, probably if I'm able to give clarity in a country of confusion about how to look at things, evidence-based, logical, systematic, and how to look at the future and build that future with the tools that we have. If I'm able to make a little bit of contribution along with others in that direction, hopefully that will be remembered. It's not me that's important, but the path, the method probably is important. If that path is pursued or that's remembered in solving the problems of India and future problems of our society, I think my life is more than fulfilled.
So let's hope that this country moves from confusion to optimism, as JP sir has quoted. Thank you so much for this wonderful insights. And definitely your life will be a source of inspiration, is a source of inspiration and will be a source of inspiration for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you.